You've been calling it burnout. You've been looking for vitamins, sleep cycles, productivity hacks, and weekend retreats to fix the fact that the fire simply went out. But let me ask you a question your exhaustion has been trying to whisper for months. What if the fire didn't go out because you ran out of fuel? What if it went out because the forest ended? There's a kind of exhaustion that doesn't respond to rest or effort. It's not a medical condition, it's a literary one. You aren't broken, you are just finishing a narrative. And what you feel right now isn't failure. It's the weight of the book being closed. Think of your life as a succession of scripts. From the moment we wake up, we put on the costume of a character we believe is necessary for the world. The achiever, the provider, the one who always finds a way. These scripts are useful. They act like scaffolding supporting the construction of our identity while we are still fragile. But what happens when the building is finished, yet you keep trying to live on the scaffolding? Burnout, as it's diagnosed in modern culture, is often seen as a failure of energy. But I invite you to observe it differently. Burnout is the final protest of your consciousness against a role you have already outgrown. You feel this weight because the lines of your current script no longer fit in your mouth. You say them out of habit, but they sound hollow. The stage has become too small. The lights that once motivated you now only burn your retinas. The audience expects you to continue the play, but you, the actor, have realized the set is made of cardboard. It may look like laziness. It may feel like a loss of drive. It can feel like something in you no longer believes in the story being lived. And there is no rest in the world that can recharge a person who is tired of pretending to be themselves. In our modern world, we've been taught that if we aren't going somewhere, we are dying. We've been conditioned to see life as an arrow in perpetual motion. If the arrow stops, it falls. But in the philosophy of pure observation, the arrow doesn't fall. It finally touches the ground. It finally rests in the earth. Often, when this narrative collapses, we desperately try to start a new chapter. We rush into new careers, new relationships, or most commonly today, new spiritual goals. We turn meditation into a chore. We turn healing into a project with deadlines and KPIs. But try to observe this impulse. Why the urgency? Why the fear of not having a label? The mind reacts to the silence between chapters. It searches for names. It looks for something to call what it doesn't recognize. But observe without judging. What you call emptiness may be the first moment where nothing needs to be performed. Why? Because for the first time, you aren't trying to convince anyone, not even yourself, that you know what you're doing. Feel the weight of that statement. You don't need to know what you're doing today. The narrative has ended. And the space between the end of one book and the beginning of another isn't a printing error. It is the silence necessary for the story to breathe. Maintaining a persona requires an immense amount of vital energy. Think about how much strength you spend every day keeping up appearances, managing expectations, and sustaining the image of who you should be. This is what drains you. It is the maintenance of fiction. When the narrative collapses, that energy begins to return to you. At first, it doesn't return as enthusiasm. It returns as a kind of flatness. You feel uninterested. Things that used to irritate you or excite you now seem distant. Culture will tell you that you've lost your vibe. I tell you that you've finally stopped leaking energy into the imaginary. You are accumulating presence. In this state of non-doing, something quieter becomes noticeable. It is a state of pure observation, where you perceive the world without the need to interpret it to fit your biography. There may be no need for a mission right now. A sense of unfamiliarity can emerge. Observe the light coming through the window. Notice the sound of your own breath. Realize that life keeps happening with mathematical precision and silent beauty, even if you aren't performing anything. The sun doesn't burn out of burnout. Trees don't grow out of ambition. They just are. and you can just be too. Eventually, a new coherence will begin to emerge. But it won't come as a bolt of inspiration or a brilliant business idea. It will come as a whisper, a slight leaning toward something that feels real. The difference between your old narrative and the new one is that the new one won't need scaffolding. It won't need effort. It won't be something you do, but something that happens through you. In this transition phase, where you feel directionless, notice how, without past or future, there is less to defend. Without the weight of the past to justify, and without the weight of the future to plan, you are finally available to reality. If the world calls you lazy, observe that judgment. If your mind calls you a failure, observe that thought. They are just echoes of old scripts trying to pull you back onto the stage. But the curtain has already fallen. The audience is gone. And here, in the silence of the empty theater, you can finally take off the mask and breathe the fresh air of not knowing. This is not your fall. It is your landing. You haven't lost your drive. You've just stopped running in the wrong direction. Stay in the gap. Stay in the silence. Something is reorganizing inside you. Something that doesn't need your effort, your anxiety, or your permission. Just watch. This channel exists for these moments, for the space between the notes. If you recognize this silence in your own life today, you are not alone, but you also don't need company. You only need attention. Stay with this feeling. Don't try to label it. Don't try to explain it to anyone tomorrow. Just notice that even without a story, you are still here, and that is more than enough.